What's up, everybody? It's Realistic, and I'm doing another tutorial for SoundOracle.net. So I'm going to be going over mid-side EQ. I'm going to do a really simplified explanation of it, just hopefully so you can get a better understanding of it. When I was first starting out, I wish somebody had gone over an easy explanation of mid-side EQ for me, because I kept hearing it come up and I was like, what is this? How do I apply it? So hopefully this video can answer some of those questions. All right, let's dive in. All right, so I got Ableton open up here, but as I always say, these tips and techniques will work in any DAW of your choosing, and if you're capable of it, go ahead and do this along with me. You'll find that you learn this a lot more if you can do this along with me versus trying to retain it for later. There's a couple EQs that can do it. My favorites are the Pro Q2. My other one is the Oxford one, the UAD version of the Oxford Dynamic EQ. I love to be able to actually use both of them when I'm mastering, and that's what we're going to be focusing on in this video is mid-side, more applied towards mastering, but you can use this in mixing, and I do use it in mixing, and I'll go over a couple examples why. And also you'll notice that a lot of DAWs will have it in their stock plugins. So in the Ableton version, you just throw on EQ8 and you go over to mode and you can flip that over to mid-side, and then right here when you see the edit, you got your S and M for mid, S for side, and you notice if I boost this on the M, when I go to the S, it doesn't change that. I can do something completely different for the S versus the M, so it's really nice to be able to have that ability. So we'll start out with the FabFilter one because this is usually when I'm mastering. I'll start out with this one when I'm doing some mid-side EQ. And so with a plugin like this one, you just go down to channel mode and you switch it to mid-side here. And then so once you do that, your stereo placement has the option to go between mid and side versus left and right. And so when you're in this mode and are just in stereo, it acts as if it were just in left and right mode. So it doesn't actually change the sound when you're just doing stereo. It only affects it when you switch to mid or side. So mid is anything that's in mono and coming down the center. Oftentimes it has to do with your lead instruments, your lead vocals, your kick drum, or your bass. And side has to do with the stereo image. So anything that is different between the left and right channel, oftentimes like background vocals, string sections, just things that can be different on the sides to be able to create a stereo image. So a lot of times when I'm mastering, what I try to do is I try to look for issues in the low end because I find a lot there, and I try to just tame them down a little bit with mid and side. So now that you got a little explanation of what those are, I'll show you kind of just some examples of what I would do. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this track.
And baby, I am weak. You're on a winning streak.
So what I'll do is I'll zero out the frequency and I'll put this in mid right here, and I'll try to find some frequencies down in the low end that are struggling a little bit, because when I find that I cut some of the stuff coming down the mids, I can usually be able to get a better stereo image that way. So there's a little buildup at 106. I'll show you the difference if it was just coming down stereo.
No.
You can hear that, but when I go to mid, we're just affecting more of the mid instead of all the other stuff that's going on, like the reverbs and the stuff that's coming down the sides. So you can hear I'm really just focusing in on that, and that's usually what I'll do. When I'm doing some mid-side EQ is I'll focus on some of this low stuff down here.
Streak. Oh, you are such a freak. I love.
And another thing too is when you're mastering, what's really handy is if you want to do some stuff to the lead vocal, maybe kind of get that up there a little bit. And so it kind of helps if you can boost a little bit in the mids, not by much, but just a little bit. And it helps again to maybe zero out so you can really hear what's going on with the relationship between the voice and the claps or the snares or the hi-hats.
And I love it when you peek.
So this right here, if I boost him a little bit,
And baby, I am.
can bring him a little bit more forward. Versus if I take it out.
And baby, I am weak. You're on a winning streak. Oh, you are such a freak. I love it when you peek.
Now, if I'm in stereo, you'll notice that the things on the side will also bump up, and that's what I'm trying to avoid right now.
And baby, I am weak. You're on a winning streak. Oh, you are such a freak. I love it when you peek.
So it allows me to help the voice come through a little bit more without affecting the sides too much. All right, and so with stuff with the sides, one of the things that I try to look for when I'm cutting with the sides is I like to kind of see if the reverb is a little too muddy or if the slap delay or some other stuff is going on. And it's usually going to be in this low mid-range here. So let's check that out a little bit. I try to do a little bit wider Q versus you can see with some of this lower stuff for those resonant frequencies. I try to do a little bit more narrow, but here, because I'm really trying to find where the issues are with the reverb and other things.
And
now I'll show you if we're just coming down the center here. See, there's a lot of important information right there I don't actually want to affect. I don't want to affect the lead vocal or that clap or the kick drum too much. I just really want to focus on maybe getting some of that mud out of the reverb, and the side option really helps me get there.
I love it when you peek. And I think something different could happen if you take me home.
And it kind of brings some clarity to the lead vocal as well. So another thing too is when I'm boosting with side, a lot of times I will boost a little bit of the top end because as humans we hear high frequencies wider and we hear low frequencies more down the center. So with the low frequencies, we're not really hearing them too much in the high register here. And same with the low end here, we're not really hearing the side information too much down in the low end. So I try to boost a little bit of the sides sometimes if I just want to sweeten the top and kind of help with the overall stereo image. Not always, the song doesn't always call for it, but when I want to create some excitement and help the stereo image and kind of brighten it up at the same time, just boosting the sides a little bit can help.
And baby, I am weak. You're on a win.
So you can hear that what we're boosting there is the hi-hats, that clap that's a little stereo, and the slap delay that's on his voice is getting boosted a little bit there.
And baby, I am weak. You're on a winning streak. Oh, you are such a freak. I love it when you peek. And I think something different could happen if you take me home. And I think something bigger. I think it's something weirder. You can keep all your goodbyes. I try.
So you can hear as I went in and out how things kind of cleared up a little bit, and overall it started to sound cleaner and a lot brighter, and it really didn't do too much boosting other than this stuff right here. You can see I did more cutting here, but by cleaning up some of that stuff coming down the center, some of that mud, and getting some of that reverb to clean up a little bit, really being able to just get that to sparkle, and it also appears wider just because we got the stuff on the sides to excite a little bit more, and then his voice got boosted a little bit down the center, so it brought more focus on his voice and kind of pushed the stuff that's going on in this area to the back a little bit, but still appears wider because it got pushed back. And mid-side EQ can also work really great when you're mixing and you can use them on individual tracks. It works really good for cleaning up bass and kick drums when you're using the mid option, or if you're trying to do stuff where you can take away all the side information down in the low end and just keep the mids coming right down the middle, stuff like that. It also really helps for helping stereo image if you want to widen background vocals or strings or anything like that, and you use the side option. So hopefully this explanation helped you out, and hopefully you got a better understanding of mid-side EQ. So I'm hoping that you got a lot out of this tutorial today. Hopefully there's some information that was useful. If you're getting a lot out of this but you want to see more, please feel free to comment below. Let us know what kind of tutorials that you want to see in the future, and Oracle and I can definitely make that happen. We're always trying to find the content that you want to see. If you're liking what you're hearing from me, you can find me everywhere on social media at Realistic Productions. You can find me at the web, realisticproductions.net. You can find my man SoundOracle everywhere at SoundOracle. And if you're looking for the best 808s, the best kicks, the best snares with the craziest loops and samples you can find on the internet right now, go to SoundOracle.net. Alright, till next time.